Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another Instant Deck Tech. So, as you know, Amonkhet released on Friday, which means this week is Amonkhet week here in Instant Deck Tech land. Every single deck tech this week gonna be talking about decks featuring cards from Magic's newest set, and today is Tuesday, Type 2 or Standard Tuesday, and we have a super sweet, super aggressive, and almost budget list to check out today. This is Red Black Hazoret. Recently took a Magic Online user by the name of Defio to a 5-0 finish in a competitive league, so congrats to Defio on their finish with the deck. A quick reminder before we break down Red Black Hazarat: if you enjoy this deck and you want to see it made into videos, take a minute, click the like button, the subscribe button, leave a comment, anything you can do to support your deck, because whichever deck is most popular gets a shot at being made into videos next week. So Red Black Hazarat is built around Hazoret the Fervent, and this is a bit of a surprise. When spoilers were pouring out for Amonkhet, we were seeing the gods, and the general consensus was that Hazoret was one of the worst of the gods, way near the bottom, and surprisingly, the first 5-0 list, the first list to post a result that I have seen with a god from Amonkhet is built around Hazoret the Fervent. So in the deck we'll be talking about today, Hazoret is basically the top end of the curve. The deck is built to curve out, get empty-handed, and when Hazoret comes down, you are very likely going to have a 5-4 indestructible hasty beater just to smash your opponent with right away. And there's also some neat synergies that take advantage of the discard ability to either allow you to discard things that you can get back from the graveyard, or things that add up to even more damage. So instead of 2 damage to your opponent, discarding certain cards can give you like 5 damage, and when you combine that with all of your cheap creatures beating down and Hazoret beating down for 5, that closes out the game super quickly. So as far as the rest of the creatures, we are all in aggro. We have 8 1-drops, 8 2-drops. So 1-drop wise, we start with Bomat Courier, which is just a 1/1 for 1, but it does have the ability to make you discard your hand if you really need to get lower on cards for Hazarat. Of course, if you can get in some hits in the early game, you can also use this to draw more cards, which is kind of beneficial as well too if you just spew out your entire hand. Way to generate some card advantage. And then next on the list we have Dread Wanderer, which works amazingly well with Hazarat. In the early game you can just play it as a Savannah Lions on turn 1. In the late game you happen to draw it off the top, you can discard it to your Hazarat, get in some damage that way, and then always get it back from the graveyard. It also can block unlike grave crawlers and some of the other similar effects we've seen, so it's a really hard to deal with, hard to kill threat that you can just keep getting back from the graveyard. Moving up to the 2-drop trust slot, we have Scrappy Scrounger, kind of like Dread Wanderer, just another recursive threat. Keeps coming back, you gotta eat something from your graveyard, but a 3/2 for 2 is already good, just keep beating down, getting in damage. And finally, we have the biggest 2-drop in Standard, Blood Rage Brawler, just a 4/3 for 2 that allows you to discard a card, which in this deck can be an upside rather than a downside. You can discard a Dread Wanderer, a Scrappy Scrounger, and just get it back, or just discard a land or something to make sure you're empty-handed so you're beating down right away when Hazaret comes down. Then we have Key to the City, which is sort of the backup Hazaret, another discard outlet, also a way to loot and generate some card advantage. And discard outlets are actually pretty important for this deck because even beyond the recursive creatures, we have some spells that really want to be discarded. So Alms of the Vein and Fiery Temper might look a little janky, especially Alms of the Vein, but when you consider how much damage they do with Hazaret, they're really powerful. So say you get your Hazaret down, you've hit your opponent with all your early game creatures, you just need to close out the game. You can discard an Alms of the Vein to Hazaret, that's 3 mana, madness it for 1 more mana, so you end up getting 5 damage at your opponent's face, which is a huge chunk of life, and you do this for only 4 mana. Fiery Temper does the same thing, you can kill a creature too if you want to, but discard either of those cards to Hazaret and pay 1 mana for their madness cost, and you 5 your opponent opponent. That's like a lava axe. That's a lot of damage going at your opponent's face, and when you back that up with all these aggressive creatures that are just beating down, it gives you a ton of reach to just finish your opponent off if they eventually stabilize the board. Shock, just a way to deal with early game creatures. Maybe it's right in this deck. I'm leaning towards Magma Spray to deal with opposing Relentless Dead, Scrap Heap Scroungers, but going to the face is a nice bonus. And then Unlicensed Disintegration, still a very strong removal spell. We got Key to the City, we got Scrap Heap Scrounger, so there are some artifacts running around, so most of the time, killing our opponent's best creature and dealing 3 to their face. As far as the mana base, pretty simple. 8 red-black dual lands, a bunch of basic lands. As far as the sideboard, we can kind of break things down by what they're coming in against. So this package, Lay Bare the Heart, some discard, Chandra and Kalitas, some bigger threats. They're very helpful against any sort of controlling mid-rangey deck where you're going to be able to get some really good things out of your opponent's hand, have some more resilience if there's a lot of removal going on, some more resilient threats. Kalitas can also be good against aggro too at the top end of your curve to gain a bunch of life. Our aggro package though involves some more life gain and Trespasser's Curse, and this card I thought it was just for the Felidar Guardian combo, which is no longer part of standard, thank God, but after playing like the Zombies deck for budget magic, it's actually really good against aggressive decks that are playing a lot of creatures. It adds up to so much damage and so much life gain as the game goes along. It can really swing an aggressive mirror. Lightning Axe, Shock, Sweltering Suns, just a bunch more removal. And then our last sideboard card, Release the Gremlins, all-purpose artifact destruction, so Heart of Kiran's, Aetherworks, Marvels, whatever artifact seems to be a problem. Release the Gremlins gets rid of it and gives you a token left behind, or even more. And that is red-black Hazaret for Amonkhet Standard. And that's been our Instant Deck Tech for today. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, help us out by clicking that like button down below. And to keep up on all the latest and greatest, click that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that bell icon to get alerts whenever we have new videos. And if you want to, check out some of our other sweet videos here and here.